Hey everyone, here's another Comic Clerks video, and today I'll be talking about Gotham. Tonight's the night, and we start this episode with Barbara walking down the aisles, and it looks like Jim is the groom, and it looks like it's a rehearsal, not the actual thing. So the priest asks her, would she take Jim to be her unlawfully wedded husband? And Barbara questions the priest, why he said unlawfully. And Jim tells her, just answer the question. This is when the priest turns into Penguin. We see that she's in a dream, and her guest turns into inmates. The organist turns into Theo. And Jim asks her what's wrong, and she coughs up a bird. The whole church just starts to laugh at her. She is then replaced at the altar with Leslie, as she is tied up with the guests, while everyone laughs at her pretty much. So she finally wakes up and sees a present for her, and she opens it, and we're taking to Theo and Tabitha, while she tells her brother, doesn't be a mayor, give him time to sleep. And he tells you, that now that Jim is on their trail, they have to speed up their timetable. And he has a meeting with Bruce Wayne, so that he can hand over his company. Tabitha wonders, how he's going to take Wayne Enterprises for him. And he tells her, that he's going to offer, the thing that he wants most in the world. And he tells Tabitha, that they need Jim distracted while he's doing this, because he can't have Jim dead and have Bruce all, emotional about it. This is when Barbara comes in, and he tells her, today is the day that she can kill Jim. Alright, at the GCPD, Jim is giving the captain, what he knows about Theo. And the captain says he doesn't have any real evidence, and until he has some, he can't go after Galavan. So Jim walks out, and, he and Leslie are having a conversation on going after Theo. And she tells him not to make it personal. And this is when Barbara comes in and is taken into custody. So Jim tries to pump Barbara for information about Theo, with the cat, Leslie, and Harvey watching on the other side of the glass, and she won't give him anything. He then tries to play on the love card by kissing her, with Leslie watching, and she still doesn't talk at all. This is when she tells him, that they have to take a trip if he wants her to talk, and she tells him, that it's a surprise, and after, they see the surprise, she will tell him everything. This is when her lawyer shows up, and Jim, can't talk to her anymore. So Barbara, gets up and walks up to the glass, right where Leslie is, and smirks right at her. So we get to the captain's office, and they're trying to go over what they should do, and Jim believes he should go see what, she's talking about. Leslie says she's mentally ill, and Harvey believes she's straight at a nail and that it's a trap. So the captain agrees that it's a trap, and Jim wants to know, what choice they have since she won't talk. And the captain mentions, the kiss, and Jim's like, that was a judgment call. Leslie is not happy about that judgment call. So the captain tells them, focus on the issue, and Leslie wants Barbara sent to a hospital to get treatment. And Jim asks for one day to follow the lead, and the captain agrees. So we cut to a scene, we're in the forest, and Riddle is driving his car, and it looks like this is where he's going to dump Kristen's body. So we cut to Silver, and Bruce arrives, and she tells them, her uncle is on their way for their meeting. He has something really exciting to tell them. This is when Theo comes in, and Silver excuses herself, and he asks Bruce to sit down. Alright, so we cut back to the GCPD, and the Strike Force has, some more members, as we've seen in the last couple episodes. They've been getting off kind of quick. And these members will be telling, Harvey and Jim. So Captain tells them, as soon as he doesn't like something, he's going to pull the plug on the whole thing. He pulls Harvey aside and tells them, he needs someone, there, level-headed, because Jim is too emotionally involved. So Jim goes to Leslie and tells her, this is the only way, and she tells him, this is all him, nobody else. Barbara, wrapped her up into her schemes again, and that both of them are sick. Then Barbara comes out and rubs in Leslie's face that she'll be borrowing Jim for a while. Leslie just wants to punch her one good time, but she can't. So back at Bruce's meeting with Theo, he asks Bruce what is one of his dreams. And Bruce's dream is to find the man who killed his parents and kill him. This is when Theo tells him his dream about saving Gotham. And, they both can help accomplishing, each other's dream together. Bruce wants to know how. So this is when we cut back to the GCP. The strike force is loading up. And Jim is putting Barbara in the back of their car. And Barbara, she leads the way but downtown. Alright, you guys. So we cut back to, Bruce's meeting with Theo. And he tells him, that his company is the cause for tons of destruction, tons of lives lost, tons of, all kinds of stuff going on in, Bruce's company. So Bruce tells him, that he'll find who's doing this and put a stop to it. And Theo tells him, that he can't. His board is willing to keep, to kill to keep their secrets. So Bruce says, he must have a solution to propose or they wouldn't be there. So the solution is for Bruce to sell Theo the 51% shares of the company that he has. And Theo will clean up Wayne Enterprises. So Bruce tells him, that Wayne Enterprises is his responsibility. This is when Theo dangles, the identity of the murderer of his parents. And he tells him, if he sells him his company, he will save his company and give him the closure he needs. He tells Bruce, he pretty much has the end of the day, to give him an answer. So we get back to Jim and Harvey, and Barbara is still giving directions to the location. And Jim is trying to pump Barbara for information about Theo, but she's not talking at all. And Harvey tells them, that they need to get out of there. She's not talking. But Jim, asks for a little bit more time. So we get back to the woods, Riddler, he's giving a toast to Miss Kringle. And it's like, goodness, man, you just can't let her go. Supposedly, he was two separate people. And if it wasn't for her, it would have never brought those two people together and made him whole again. So he saluted Miss Kringle. When a hunter shows up, who becomes a bit nosy, this is when Riddler hits him, with the shovel, killing him. So his body count just keeps going up, and now he has to get rid of another body. So we get back with Jim and Harvey. They drive into a spot where the captain isn't comfortable, and he wants them to pull out. And, he tells them to pull out, but Harvey, he ignores the order. And Jim tries again, and Barbara is upset about their wedding that didn't go through. And she tells him, that she still loves him, and she knows that he still loves her too. Jim gets frustrated and is about to yell at her, that he doesn't love her, when they are rammed by a semi-truck. They are fired at, by a group that came out of the truck, and, the GCPD returned fire. Barbara escaped, and, Jim points his gun at her. This is when he is injected with something that knocks him out. So we cut to the GCPD, and the captain is conducting a search, so he can find Jim. And he tells Harvey that he's not allowed to be there and to go home. So we're back in the woods, and Edward is coming back, to deal with the hunter. And he noticed, that someone has eaten his tea sandwiches. So whoever did has left the trail, and, he has to follow it, supposedly, because, he can't have any loose ends. So this is just hilarious. He can't catch a break. He went to go bury a body. Somebody found him. He had to kill that one. And now somebody came and ate their food. So now he's got to go find that person. So we get back to Bruce, and he's in the cave, and Alfred finds him there, and Bruce asks him how long will his training take on take on his company. And Alfred tells him that it's going to take a while to become the man he needs to be. And Bruce then tells him about his meeting with the mayor and about the offer for selling his company. And Alfred tells him, that's pretty much extortion, not an offer. And Bruce argues, that he wants to consider it. And Alfred tells him, that he shouldn't. Bruce tells him that his parents' death had been in vain. And if Theo can fix Wayne Enterprises, shouldn't he do this for his father's legacy? And Alfred tells him, that the company isn't Thomas or Martha Wayne's legacy. Their legacy is Bruce. So Bruce, asks, Alfred, is it wrong to want it all to be over? And Alfred tells him, no, that it isn't wrong, and hugs him. So we get back to Jim, and, it looks like he's tied up in the church that was in Barbara's dream. And we see Barbara walking towards him with a sawed-off shotgun, excited that her dress still fits, and she wants to remember how excited she was to get married at that church. And he tells her, that the GCPD will be looking for him, and she gets upset with this and tells him, that she's always worrying about work. Jim wonders, what all this is, and she adjusts her dress again, and she shows him that she has a priest tied up, and witnesses in the pews who are tied up. And Jim starts to talk, and, Barbara tells him, don't act surprised. He knew it was a trap, and then, that he's Jim Gordon. He'll find a way to win or pretty much die. So she tells him, that it's option B this time. And he tells her, he doesn't want to die. And she asks, isn't he tired of lying to himself and Leslie? He tells her, he doesn't lie to Leslie. And she wants to ask, Leslie herself. And Leslie is being wheeled in by Tabitha. And you see Jim trying to snap his binds. So we get back to the GCPD. And Harvey is going over, the squad car tape. And puts together, where Jim is. And takes it to the captain. Now Barbara wants a do-over on their wedding. And he's at Gotham Cathedral. Because that's the only church that was around where, they got attacked at. So Captain says that's really thin. And Harvey tells him, that he knows he's right. This is when the captain grabs his coat and they head out. So back at the church, Barbara wants to make sure Leslie knows exactly who Jim is. No more lies. So Jim tells her, she's won the talk. She's been lying all day. She then tells Jim, all right, she'll be honest about something. And, that the Mayor Quincy is being hidden at a stash house on the China docks, and tells him, that it's his turn to be honest. And Jim tries to get more info, but she doesn't, it's his turn to be honest. And goes to Leslie, and she tells her, about him killing a man to get back into the GCPD. And Leslie tells her, she already knows. And Barbara is surprised that she already knows, but wants to know who loves Jim more. And to prove it, she's going to cut Leslie's face off. So Jim tries to break his binds even faster. This is when Leslie compliments, Barbara's dress, distracting her. This is when Jim breaks his bind, and grabs the shotgun. This is when the GCPD shows up, and Barbara runs away. And we see more guys from the semi-truck in the church, and they attack. Jim takes them out and unties Leslie. Leslie then notices Barbara and tells him to go after her. He pursues her, and she comes after him with her knife. And in the struggle, she falls through the window. He tells her to hold on, and, we see a glimpse of the old Barbara from the first season. And she apologizes to him and tells him, that she loves him, and this is when she falls. So we get a, little cut scene, and we come back to the church, and we see Barbara, is still alive. It looks like, the bushes broke her fall, and she's in critical condition and being loaded into an ambulance. So Leslie asks Jim, if he's okay, and after everything is over, that they need to talk. And the captain tells Jim, he has to have something, and Jim tells him, that he did get from Barbara that Mayor James is alive and being locked away on the docks. So they head to this location and find the mayor, with the box in his head, And Harvey asks, what is wrong with these people? And Jim asks the mayor who did this to him, and the mayor yells at him, who does he think? So we cut to, with Theo and Bruce, and, they're going over the contract, and Bruce tells them, he changed his mind and can't sell him his company. This is when Jim shows up, to arrest Theo, and Theo, he throws the file, for Bruce, into the fireplace. This is when Jim hits Theo in the face and tells him his charges and arrests him. I didn't know a cop could hit you before he arrested you. I didn't know that you could be assaulted by a cop, but I guess since only people that were there to see this were cops, it doesn't really matter, because he just clocked the mess out of him and the captain didn't say anything. This is, when Bruce notices the file is in the fire and yells at Theo to tell him, who killed his parents. So back in the forest, Riddler has found this little trailer and is investigating it, So the door opens and knocks him down and his glasses fall off. Someone emerges, but he can't really see him. But, we can tell it's Penguin. We all know that wobbly little walk. We all know it's Penguin. And so when he gets his glasses on, he realizes who it is also. This is when Penguin asks him to help him. Alright, you guys, that was the end of this episode. Gotham is one of my favorite shows, so I enjoyed it. Hopefully next time I see more Penguin and more Selina, those are my favorite characters. Alright, so tell me what you didn't like about this episode and what you did like about this episode. Leave it in the comments, you guys. Alright, thanks you guys for watching. See ya.